Gentlemen, what would you do if you found out your son was going blind? Well, that's what happened to Dr. Steve Johnston, and he's going to share his story with us on today's episode of the Manlihood ManCast.
Men, this is your chance to strive for greatness, to be all you can be, to make your mark on history. Your chance to improve and sharpen yourself, to grapple with your weaknesses and turn them into strengths. Welcome to the Manlihood ManCast with Josh Hatcher.
Gentlemen, welcome to the Manlihood ManCast. Let me remind you how much I appreciate you for tuning in, for listening, for sharing these episodes, for leaving ratings and reviews on iTunes or Apple Podcasts, I guess it's called now, and for just getting the word out. Let's keep that up. Let's keep telling men how to become even better men, and let's do it together, because this is not just about me. This is a movement that you're a part of, and I appreciate you very much. Speaking of being a part of the movement, Season 8 is going to be coming up and launching in the fall, and I want to invite you. If you have a business or a brand that serves men, you can have your ad here. You can sponsor an episode or the whole season or a section of episodes of Manlihood for an affordable rate. Get in touch with me, manlihood.com@gmail.com. Let's make it happen. So guys, today's guest, Dr. Steve Johnston, got the news that his son was going blind, and he turned that into a mission, not only to help his son experience the world before he went blind, but also to make a difference and to fight against the disease that was causing that blindness. And he talks about his story today. So I'm really excited to hear about this story of love, courage, determination. Without further ado, Steve Johnston. Steve, it's great to have you on the show today. How you doing today, man?
I'm doing well. How are you doing? It's great to be here.
Yeah, great to have you. I know we've been wanting to get you on the show for a little while, and you're doing some awesome work. So why don't you introduce yourself to our listeners, tell them who you are, and maybe about the work you're doing.
Sure. Well, yeah, so my name is Steve Johnston. I'm a dad of two, a 10 and 7-year-old. I live in Gilbert, Arizona, just outside of Phoenix. And my life took a bit of a different direction a couple years ago when I got a diagnosis that my son has a rare genetic condition that is going to cause him to go blind by his teenage years. So that kind of upended my life and really caused a lot of changes for us. And that's kind of been what my mission has been all about in the last couple years, is supporting him, supporting research, and trying to get a cure made for his condition.
Yeah, what? Maybe tell me a little bit more about that condition and what it was like finding out about it.
Yeah, so the name of the condition is Retinitis Pigmentosa, which has multiple different genetic causes of that condition. So Retinitis Pigmentosa is really just a group of disorders that all cause varying severity of blindness and vision loss. And his underlying cause is caused by Bardet-Biedl syndrome, which has a few other things that go with it, but the most well-known thing is the vision loss. So we got that diagnosis a couple years ago, and obviously that was one of those moments that it doesn't feel real when it happens, and you go through a pretty intense grieving period, processing it and accepting it and moving forward. So that was a really hard time in my life.
Yeah, when something goes wrong with your kids, you feel like, oh man, I've got to fix this. And I think it's hard when it's something that there's really nothing you can do about it.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's obviously one of those things that as like a man, a father, I'm also a physician. That's my career. So all those things that your first reaction is, what can I do? How can I help? What can I do to fix this? Not doing something is one of the hardest things, right? And not feeling like you can help your kids, not feeling like you can fix what they're going through is definitely one of the most helpless and kind of hopeless feelings on the planet, which is ultimately what drove me to start a nonprofit organization to really try to support a cure for him.
So he's how old again right now?
He is 10 years old now.
10 years old. And They said probably when he's a teenager is when as he started losing some vision now.
Yes. So the symptoms usually onset kind of in early mid childhood, anywhere from 5 to 10 years old, and then every version of retinitis pigmentosa has kind of a different severity and how quickly people lose their vision or how severe the vision loss is. And in his case, the Bardet Biedl syndrome version that he has can be fairly, it can be fairly rapid in the vision loss. So, they think that by his teenage years to late teen years that he would be legally blind. So it can happen fairly quick.
Yeah. So I recently had a little bit of a scare. Just the past few years ago, I didn't know what it was. It was after I had COVID. I started losing my vision. And so I thought, because that's one of the possible symptoms. But when I went and had the testing done, it wasn't that. It ended up being cataracts, and I'm pretty young, so it didn't make sense why. I don't have diabetes. Anyway, long story short, they've replaced my lenses, and I started, so I can see really great without glasses, which I'd never had. But that's something that they can fix, And so like at first, that first year while we were figuring it out, I didn't know what was going on, and I was pretty scared.
Yeah.
But I can't imagine when you know what it is. I know what it's like when you're unsure and you're not sure what's happening, but once you know, hey, this is what's going to happen. So what kind of steps did you take as a dad to help him through that process?
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry that you had to go through that, by the way. That's a tough story and a scary situation. So I'm glad that things have worked out for you and you're kind of in a better place with that. So in terms of our process with him, really trying to be a strong example, be a strong role model for him and put him in situations where he can start to learn how to deal with hardship and deal with overcoming tough situations, and also put myself in situations that he can see me being an example of that. And so I can learn how to better teach him when he's in his hard moments as life progresses, whether it's vision loss or anything else that's going to inevitably confront him, because life is not easy, as there's always going to be ups and downs and hurdles and hard moments and things you have to overcome. So preparing him to be able to overcome those challenges is really important for us. So that's one thing we've really made an effort to, do, is to just prepare him to be mentally tough and able to handle whatever challenges come his way.
Yeah, I think kids are pretty resilient in general too, and sometimes I think they handle these things even better than grown-ups do.
Oh yeah, no way, no doubt about it. There's no comparison, because they don't maybe know as much, so like he doesn't know anything but what he knows. So the scenario of telling him, hey, you might lose your vision, he doesn't even really know what that means. It's so hard to conceptualize that even for an adult. Like, well, what would that be like? What how does that affect me? And but yeah, they're so resilient, they're so tough. They're just there's just so much opportunity for kids to grow and learn and adapt, that it's really amazing to watch what kids can get through and how they can handle all these things, because it's inspiring, and it's a good reminder as parents and adults how they handle things, and trying to sometimes learn from them so you can be as good as they are in these moments.
Yeah, for sure. So you get the diagnosis, you're working on kind of that personal level, right, to help prepare your son through this, and you decided to kind of take action in the broader sense of, all right, how do we just fix this problem for everybody? And I mean, that's not necessarily as simple as just flipping a switch and fixing it, but so what are you doing to help in the long run then?
Yeah, so the mission of the nonprofit organization is to support research for a cure. And when we started the nonprofit, we really didn't have necessarily a clear target of how we were going to do that. We didn't know what research was being done, if anybody was working on this. We were essentially told that there was nobody working on it that they knew of, and that there was no real cure in the pipeline to hope for even. So we really set out on a learning expedition of like, is there anybody working on this? Is there any kind of, any potential therapies that could be looked at to, help support a cure? And then that will give us a target to fundraise for and what we could do to make a difference. Early in the process, we were just talking to a lot of researchers in the field, people, doing vision related research in general. And we ultimately got referred to a company that's based out of the UK. And luckily, they had been working on his condition for some time, and they had developed a therapy that was very far along. It had already gone through kind of the basic science and had gone through the animal models and was ultimately ready to become a human clinical trial. And they were essentially working on fundraising themselves, and they were like, well, we have this therapy that's based off of another therapy which is very similar. It had been used for a similar cause of blindness, and so it's a proven model. It's this really promising potential therapy, but they didn't have the funds to do a human clinical trial yet. So that's what phase they were at. And we were kind of coming along at the same time, like, this is what we want to do. We want to try to, find a cure and support this. And so with the stars kind of aligned that we found them when we did, and that our missions were essentially the same, that we wanted to fundraise for a clinical trial to try to save his vision and all the kids like him. And that's what we've been doing ever since. Once we found them, that's been our mission. So we've been on a nonstop fundraising journey ever since.
That's awesome. What does that look like? Have you raised quite a bit or helped to raise quite a bit in that process?
Yeah, we've raised a couple $100,000 as a nonprofit. We have a long ways to go yet, but we've certainly picked up steam in terms of, getting kind of our bearings of like, what does it take to raise money? Like, how does this nonprofit stuff work? Because I didn't have any experience with that. Like, I was not like some nonprofit founder before. I didn't know anything about fundraising and, how to do that. So it was a big learning curve for us to see what worked, see what didn't. And now that we're, over a year and a couple months into this, we've really we feel that snowball effect of we're getting, good momentum. We're getting some exposure. People are starting to hear about us. So there's lots of good things on the horizon. So we feel very positive about the trajectory and the direction that things are going, but we still have a lot of work to do to get there. But it's all positive stuff. So we're really fortunate to be kind of where we're at right now.
That's awesome. So in that process, have you connected with others who are going through the same things that your son is going through? And has he kind of made any friends out of that process?
So it's a pretty rare disease. We haven't really met anybody locally here that is his age that has what he has. We've met some other families who have similar causes of vision impairments and things like that. We've certainly connected on the internet with a number of families who have the exact condition that he has, and they're that's a good support group opportunity to connect with other people and who are going through the same thing. And we've obviously learned a lot about what he has, and we've kind of become a little bit of a resource for people who are just getting the diagnosis or learning about it, and they need somebody to talk to get some information, because it is a rare disease. So there's just not a lot of support out there for it. There's not a lot of people who have it or know a lot about it. Even your doctor probably won't have ever heard of it, potentially. It's such a rare thing. I had never heard of it before he got diagnosed, and, I went through med school and the whole nine yards. So unless you're like a pediatric ophthalmologist who, specializes in inherited retinal conditions, you may just have never heard of this thing. So it's, that's the reality of it. And there's just so many rare diseases like this that exist in the world that are just super complicated and rare, and there's just not a lot of resources. So yeah, but it's been great to connect with the community and other people going through it.
Yeah, for sure. So what has this process been like as a dad, as you're leading your family through this? Is that requiring a little more of you on that emotional level? Are they needing, how are you walking through that?
Yeah, no, that's the biggest hurdle, right? Is like, how do you be both a strong example for your family to help them through this, and be a role model and be a source of strength, but also to process your emotions in a healthy way. Obviously, this is a sad, complicated, hard set of emotions to process. And so, letting your family see some of that is, I think important, so that they understand that, it is okay to have, emotions. It's okay to feel certain ways, and then being an example of how you can process that and learn to get through those tough moments where you're feeling down, or you're feeling emotional about something. I think those are important learning tools that if the kids don't see that, then they never learn how to process their own emotions, and then you grow up without the skill set of processing tough emotions, which are invariably going to happen to everybody for various reasons at some point or another in your life, whether it's a breakup or a problem at work or a family illness or somebody passing away. Like, we're always going to have these tough, complicated emotions to get through. So trying to be an example of, like, this is okay to feel, and it's okay to have these emotions, and this is how you process it in a healthy, positive way, is really something that I've tried to do for both the kids and, but yeah, it's obviously, it takes a lot of that dad man energy to be that person, to be the, source of strength, the source of, guidance, and then be doing all the nonprofit work, still have my day job to pay the bills and, do all that stuff. So, I mean, there's, you're going through a lot of different sets of, skills and emotions and things to show up every day. So it's hard.
Yeah. What does that look like for you on that personal level? How do you process that? How do you work through the emotion of it?
So I think it's really important to take care of yourself when you're responsible for taking care of other people. Like, you can't take care of other people if you're not healthy yourself. So putting aside that time to do things that are healthy for you. For me, certainly one of them is fitness, being, physically fit. It's important for your physical health so that I can be healthy and present for them. But for me, it's as important for my mental health as it is for my, physical health, to go take that dedicated time, work out for 45 minutes or an hour, or 30 minutes, if that's all you got that day, like whatever, go move your body, take that time for yourself, recharge, reset, process, some of those emotions that you have. So that's really important, to make that time for yourself so you can be healthy. And the other thing I would say is, ask for help. You got to rely on your support groups. Like, you can't just man up and plow through these things yourself. Like, everything in life requires teams and support and help, and asking for help is not a sign of weakness in any way, shape, or form. You have to have that team around you, whether it's family, friends, a therapist, whatever it takes. You got to get that support so that you can continue to show up for your family and get the stuff done that needs to happen.
Yeah, the reason I asked that question in particular was because I've got some stuff going on in my own life, and woke up didn't sleep good last night, woke up this morning, and, my brain was like a storm, right? It was just like crazy. And I just said to my wife, I'm like, I think I got to go hit the gym. Yep. So I put in some hardcore music and hit the heavy bag and sat in the sauna, and and it went from a storm to a plate of spaghetti. I can handle the plate of spaghetti, Yeah.
And it's so cliche, but like, it works. Like, it really works. Like, you go in and you put in that, 30 minutes or an hour or whatever you got to, burn off that energy and that frustration. And it really is a time for me to organize my brain, like organize my thoughts. It's just me and nothing else going on. You don't have other requirements, taking your mental energy, and you can organize your thoughts and get your mental space cleaned up and ready for whatever it is to come that day or whatever's in front of you. So I think that's really important to do. So, I mean, it's important that you recognize that. And that's step one, is recognizing, like, I need to go do this. Like, instead of taking it out on your family or your kids or work or whatever, like, you took that healthy step of like, hey, this is what I got to go do to be, the right person today. And like, it worked, and you got through it. So like, those type of tools and awareness is super important.
Yeah. Yeah. Or at least it started the process. Like, I know I've got to make a couple coffee dates, right? And check in with some guys and be like, all right, I need to unpack this a little more and work through some of this stuff. But yeah, man, like, that's where we're at. I think that we men have a hard time doing that sometimes, especially when, like, your family is, it needs to be kind of that safe space. I hate to use that word, but it's kind of that safe space for us, right? And then when there's some kind of turmoil or some kind of problem, it's almost like we have to be on, and okay, they're counting on me, and it means that we've got to do the work so that we can be there for them.
Yep. And, I think that's, how you react to that is certainly going to change your outcome to it. So, like, you can look at it in two ways, which is, wow, this is a burden. This is so much that's been put on my plate that, I have to deal with. Or you can look at it as this great opportunity and this great responsibility that's been bestowed upon you as like the man of the family to, I'm built for this. This is what men are made for. We can handle this. And I'm lucky to have this opportunity to be this rock for my family, and I'm going to help them through this. But how you look at those situations and how you look at those challenges really will change your trajectory in the outcome of it and how you see it and how you process it. So, always try to reframe that moment of hardship into the opportunity, the positive aspect, and letting it be something that's going to be good for you as opposed to something negative that's going to bring you down.
As you're looking at your work with your nonprofit and kind of that broader impact, what was it that made you say, this is what I have to do? Because a lot of people they see the bigger problem, right? Because the first thing you're facing is what you're facing with your son, right? And helping him through that. And then you're saying, you know what, I need to be a part of the bigger solution. What made you want to do that?
So I'd say that sometimes it's easy to kind of be on cruise control in life. You're just kind of going through the motions. You're doing the things that you're supposed to do. You got the job, you got the whatever, and you're just kind of going through the motions in life. And I would say that really defined me for a long time. Like, I went to school, I did, got the job, did all the things, and I was, successful, and I was happy to have a good career and doing all the things that you're supposed to do. But I lacked a little bit of that passion and purpose to some degree, that real like fire of something that's like truly meaningful for you, that really drives you. And I would hear about people who had that kind of fire and that passion, that thing that like made them tick. And always kind of like, okay, where's my thing? Like, where's that for me? And at that moment in time when I got that diagnosis and I had processed it some, and I was sitting there looking at the options in front of me, which is I can do nothing and let this thing happen to him and let this continue to be a problem for anybody else with this diagnosis, or I'm a physician. I understand the science behind this. I've got some experiences in life that make me capable of trying to make a difference in this. It's a rare disease. It doesn't seem like anybody else is really fighting for this. And then it kind of just hit me like, this is my purpose. And it became something I became like deeply passionate about, and that fire. And ever since, like, it's crazy to me that it's been, over 14 months since I started the nonprofit, because it feels like it was yesterday, but that's kind of what happens when you dive, head first into something that you're really, truly passionate about, and that you wake up every day and just, it consumes you, and that you just like, you want to do this, you're just putting in whatever it takes, and none of that stuff matters. So I think that knowing that purpose and that reason why you're doing something makes all the difference. And that to me is what really drove me to want to do it when I realized that was like my purpose.
Yeah, for sure. We talk a lot about purpose here. And I think a lot of times we men like to think of our job as our purpose, and that works great until, downsizing or or an injury or something. And then you realize, wait, my purpose is a little bigger and broader than that. And, And it can change, right? So this is part of your purpose right now, but that might shift a little bit later. That might you might have a different mission later on in your life. But so there's a lot of guys out there who are desperately seeking that sense of purpose. I mean, it's honestly, I think it's probably one of the biggest issues that most men face, whether or not they know that's what the issue is. How would you tell guys to find that? Like, what is it that makes them tick? Like, where do they find that purpose in life?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a couple things that I've realized that are generalities that for people who who are looking for that, you have to find something that's bigger than yourself, for one thing. You have to find some mission that's more important than just you and your existence. So, you hear people who have military service, that they're serving their country and they're serving, their fellow citizens. Like, that greater purpose can be a fire for them and a passion. And if you don't know what that is and you don't feel it yet, just start exploring opportunities. Like, go volunteer, go be a part of some mission that you're something you're interested in, and see if it hits you and see if it becomes something that really drives you. Try to solve a problem. Like, is there a problem that you can be a part of the solution to? Whether it's something in your community, like, hey, like my kid's school needs, some work done to it, and I'm great, and handy, and I'm going to go and solve this problem for them and build a new playground. Like something small, as little as that purpose and solving a problem and making a difference can be hugely impactful, to something bigger in your community. Like, there's something, that really needs to be fixed, and you can kind of drive the change for it and organize people around it. So I'd say find a bigger purpose than yourself, find problems that you can solve and be a part of, and just start experimenting with different opportunities and see what hits you. And then maybe it doesn't grab you in the way you thought it would, but you might learn something about yourself, and then you go on to the next one until you start to really find those things that you're truly passionate about.
Yeah, I like that idea that you can experiment with it. Like, try it and see if it works, see if it clicks,
Yeah.
I think, with you and this, the fighting blindness, as a dad, I think that definitely has like an extra level of click for you, because, the people you care about the most are depending on it, and so I think that definitely helps to kind of fuel that passion.
Absolutely. 100%.
What does the fundraising process look like for you guys? Like, what kind of, are you doing, are specific events or specific appeals to raise those funds?
Yeah, so we've done a variety of different things to raise funds, from anything from like a neighborhood bake sale, lemonade stand, which we had a really successful one from my kid's school that his friends wanted to do it for him, and they raised $10,000, which was incredible for a lemonade stand.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, it was a really cool moment. We've tried a whole bunch of other stuff with fundraising, with your typical, fundraiser events, but really the thing that we've settled on that's been super successful for us are these kind of raffle style giveaways, which are called sweepstakes or giveaways, whatever you want to call them, where people can buy tickets and get entered in to win something of value. So it really draws in people to our organization who wouldn't have known about us otherwise, and it gives them, they're like, oh, this is cool, I can win a car or something, and that gives them the opportunity to get something in return for supporting us. So it's not just, hey, we're giving money to an organization. There's something that, we could get in return for it. And so that's been a kind of a really neat way for us to be able to get awareness and get some people exposed to us that they wouldn't have ever heard about us in any other way. And through the internet and social media and marketing and stuff like that, you can really reach a lot of people that way. And so that's been successful for us, and we're going to be continuing to do that throughout the year with more of these big fundraisers, which there's always going to be one probably live on our website at any given time that anybody can check out if they want to have the opportunity to win something cool, and in the process support a big cause and a big mission.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, that's kind of a fun way to do it too, because a lot of times the person that ends up winning the thing actually kind of really needed it, so it ends up it just kind of makes it even more fun, so definitely.
Yeah, it's exciting. We just gave away this adventure van, which is a travel van where people can camp in it and live in it if they want it. And the guy that won it, he was 21 years old, just graduating college, his whole life ahead of him, just one of these life-changing events. And now he's got this van that he can live in and travel. And sounds like he's going to become like a remote digital nomad and just travel around and see the world and work from the road and all this kind of stuff. So it's going to be, it's really awesome to know that we were a part of that, and really cool that, he believed in us and he supported us, and we got to raise a bunch of money in the process for our nonprofit, so it's just kind of one of those win-win situations. It feels good. And it's important to just donate for the greater good, of course, like when you can. But like in something like this where you can get something in return, it makes it more fun. It's not just like sadness and like give to the animal shelter because it's a sad thing they're going to kill. Like you want positivity, you want like happiness. So we don't want to just have a message of like kids losing their eyesight. We want to have some positivity associated with it. So having these kind of big moments where people win things and there's this excitement around it, it's really fun. And I think it's a great way for us to, give back to the community who's supporting us in turn.
Awesome. Yeah, that's a lot of fun. Yeah, it's funny, the whole van life thing. When I was a kid, people who lived in the vans,
I know.
they weren't the guys that wasn't like a prestigious goal to try to achieve,
No.
to live in a van down by the river.
No, and we've made fun of that a little bit, like because we traveled a lot this summer in a van to give my son a bunch of experiences and memories, and we traveled around all these national parks and things, and so we did some kind of spoofed little videos of like the Chris Farley living in a van down by the river, just to kind of poke fun at it, just to make light of the situation in that way. But yeah, it really is truly amazing though, like what you can do with these vans now and the way you can live in them and go see so many places and go do so many things. Like for us in our situation where we're really focused on trying to give him as many experiences as we can and show him the world and let him see all these things before he loses more vision, it's just so unique of a way to travel, and you can go see so many different things that you wouldn't otherwise be able to do.
Yeah. Yeah. What's his favorite thing that he has been able to experience so far in that process?
Yeah, so there was a couple moments that stood out this last summer. Both of them are somewhat related, and they were both the end of our big summer trip last year. He loves like fossils and collecting things. Part of it comes from his grandpa, who is a rock collector and rock hound. So they both kind of have this like shared love for hoarding things and collecting things. And in that process, his grandpa knew a guy who has a fossil quarry. And we got to go up to Kemmerer, Wyoming and Thermopolis, Wyoming. And we did one day of a dinosaur dig where we were digging up dinosaur bones. And then the other day was on this fish fossil quarry where we got to go, it's like a sandstone quarry where like these sheets of like sandstone come off and it opens up and there's like these cool fish fossils in them. And we actually opened up a stingray. And so my son's going to get to keep that. They have to prep it and clean it and do all this stuff to it to make it like ready. And then, so it takes like a year to do that. But, so it was just a really unique, special experience for him to get to go like do his own like collecting, for the first time and really be a part of that process. So that was really fun for him. And that was his shining moment from the summer.
That's awesome. Yeah. When our kids were little, we used to do, we homeschooled them, and so we were always looking for opportunities to take field trips and do stuff. And, there's so much that you can do that really doesn't cost a lot either. You can take your family out and have all kinds of experiences and build memories. And, I know that part of the drive for that is to make sure he gets those before he can't see anymore. Yep. But it's such a important thing to do as a family anyways, to build those experiences and those memories.
Yep. I agree. No, it's, ultimately, when you go through something like this, you certainly reframe your priorities and the things that truly matter to you. And in a case like this, where you're sitting there going, wow, okay, he only has this much time potentially to see and soak all these things in. So you realize that those experiences and that quality time together is what matters more than anything. And so you really put yourself in those situations to try to do as much as you can with that time you have and really appreciate what you have in front of you. So, because you never know when it can get taken away.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Well, and just the other end of, having my kids all grown now, there's only so much time that you get with them anyway before they're off on their own and doing their own things. So,
yep.
So, I mean, that's something I think could be true for anybody. And especially if you're raising kids, man, it goes so fast. So.
It sure does. Yeah, it flies right by. I don't know how he's already 10, you're like, what, where'd it go? How did this happen?
Steve, so you said you're a physician. What kind of medicine do you practice?
I am a radiologist, which means I sit in a dark room all day and I stare at X-rays and CTs and MRIs and all that kind of stuff. And it's not without a little bit of, I don't know if the right word is irony, I guess, but my entire profession career is really based on my eyes and being able to see. And if I couldn't see, I wouldn't be able to do my job. And that's really the one thing that would stop me from being able to do my job is if I lost my vision. And of course, I have a son who won't be able to see fully, and he's already losing his vision, and he could go blind. And so, as like a dad and as a man, you sit there and you go, is my son going to follow in my footsteps? And, things like that, this is the one thing that he could do a lot of things when he loses his vision. Like he can still have great careers and great opportunities. And, but the one thing that he probably can't do is my job. So that's one of those pretty hard moments to swallow as a person. So when I realized that was one of those moments that just hit me hard.
Yeah, that's powerful to think about the challenge of that for sure.
Yeah.
So, Steve, I like to ask all my guests a few questions, and we can take as long as we want on this or as short as you want, but I think you've got some good perspectives and things to offer here. So the first one is, what does it take to be a man?
Yeah, I mean that's a tough question. Obviously, there's a lot of ways you could take that. And I think the answer is going to be a little different for everybody because the roles that each man has to take on in their life to be the person they need to be, whether they have family or don't have family, whether they are overcoming certain challenges at different points in time, the things that are going to be asked of them are going to be different. But I think that the one thing that's going to unify all of us in that being a man is just being somebody who can rise to the challenge, be a foundation of strength, be an example, and be a leader, whatever it is that you're going through at that given moment in your life. And whether it's your career, family, friends, whatever, like if you can step up and be that person in those moments, then I think that is the kind of the essence of what being masculine and being a man is.
Yeah, for sure. Taking that responsibility and saying, okay, we're going to do this. We're going to process this. Yep. Yeah. Did you have any good examples of that growing up?
I mean, my dad is, he's a great role model of a father. He's, showed up every day. He always took me to games and always gave me all the opportunities. And I really set that groundwork of just being a super supportive, loving, kind father. So it gave me so many opportunities having somebody like that in my life. I couldn't think of a better role model to have than him. And I'm fortunate for that. And it's not lost on me how rare that can be, because not everybody has that type of childhood and that type of role model of a father. Some people unfortunately have fathers who are the opposite role model for them, and that's how they grow up, is learning that's who I don't want to be. So I'm very fortunate that that's who I had and that's what I grew up with.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think about that a lot too. I had a great dad, and a lot of the guys I talk to are great men, but they had to learn it from the negative role model. I know that that's not what I want to be. And it's powerful how both of those can actually yield the same result. Having a great example versus having a bad example can send us in the same direction if we let it. So
it definitely can. I like I said, but part of it is how you react to it and how you let these moments shape you. You can choose, to let things become a negative influence in your life, and you can repeat that in your own life, or you can learn from it and grow from it and become a stronger person. I think that mindset of, overcoming hardship and turning it into a positive is certainly one that's going to be a transformative mindset to have if as you face hardship in general.
Yeah, it's almost like we get to practice our own version of alchemy, and we can take hardship and turn it into gold if we try hard enough,
Absolutely. Yes.
So Steve, if you were to get your hands on it, maybe in the medical field, you can hobble together some radiology equipment and make a time machine,
Yeah.
and you can go back in time and visit 10-year-old Steve. What do you want to tell him?
There's so many things I guess you could teach a kid at that age. I would, having had such a really quote unquote easy childhood, I would say that was my reality. I would probably teach myself and tell myself to start seeking out challenges and seeking out hardship, minor ones, small ones, small challenges, ways to put yourself through a little bit more stressful situations, to start to build those necessary skills and those calluses to get through bigger hardships that you're going to come across. Because it wasn't until I started to really have some bigger challenges as I got older, like in my college and post-college years, that you really learn that those moments do help you grow, and those help like you can really gain valuable insight from those challenges. So seeking out small challenges, like, so what we do kind of with my son is karate. He's in martial arts, and it's daily repetitive challenges, small ones, but there's multiple micro failures along the way of you got tapped out, or you didn't learn the skill, and now you need to practice it. So those little challenges, I think, are super important to seek out as kids. So I would tell myself that you need to start seeking out challenges. You need to not take the easy path, not take the easy road always, and challenge yourself so you can grow from it and you can become stronger and more tough and capable, because I think that that's a really important skill to have, and that certainly would have helped me have fewer failures and bigger failures as my life progressed.
So your son is 10. What advice do you have for your son?
So aside from some of that kind of mental toughness training that I was talking about, with trying to prepare him for life's inevitable challenges, I would teach him to I would tell him to find his passion and his drive, because I do think that is ultimately what really can lead to happiness and fulfillment, is finding that thing that really makes you happy. It's not possessions, it's not money, it's not all those things. That stuff is transient and superficial, and it does not lead to ultimate deep happiness. They're important to have, and you have to be able to support your family and do things, but ultimately I would really coach him to find that thing that really makes his purpose and makes him tick, and ultimately that's going to put him on the path to living a happy and fulfilled life.
That's good advice, man. All right, Steve, your best advice for the men that are listening today.
Don't do it alone, whatever it is, whether it's processing tough emotions, getting through challenges, starting a business, starting some big mission that you want to be a part of. You need a team, you need help, and ask those people that you trust. Get those resources in place, whether it's finding partners to help you, whether it's finding professional help if you're in a really tough situation, getting therapy if you have to. All those things are super important. Whatever it is, it doesn't matter. Don't do it alone. Get your team, get your support. We're not meant to do it alone, and there are other men who will gladly step up next to you and be there with you in that moment. I guarantee it.
Excellent advice. So if our listeners want to connect with you, your nonprofit, the work you're doing, what's the best way for them to connect with you, man?
So we're in all the places that you would imagine to find us these days. We have a website, A Race Against Blindness.org. That's the name of our organization. So if you search that into Instagram and Facebook, you'll find us on those platforms as well. I individually have my own Instagram account where I share some more personal stuff unrelated to the nonprofit, about dad life and whatever is going on in the world. And that's my name on there is Dad vs. Blindness. So if you search for that, you'll find me. But yeah, we'd love to connect. We'd love to be a resource for you if you need help in any way. We'd love to just share with people and be there. So if you're looking for a way to connect, we'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, man, we'll share your links in the show notes as well, and the guys can connect with you and the work you're doing. I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to us on the Manlihood ManCast today.
Thanks so much for having me. It's been a great conversation, and I'm very grateful to be here. So thank you.
Awesome. Best of luck and prayers for your son, and as you guys navigate all this. I think you're doing a great job, man.
Thank you. That means a lot. Thank you so much. It's always nice to hear those things because sometimes we don't always hear that positive affirmation.
Yeah. Well, as I'm hearing your story, I can tell you love your kid, you love your family, and you're putting them first, man. And so it's good. You're doing good. So
thank you
for what you're doing.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Awesome. Thanks again. Steve, thank you so much for sharing your story with us today. I'm wishing the best for your son, for your family, and I'm grateful that you have set an example for all of us for what it looks like to love your family with passion and energy and enthusiasm. For the rest of you guys listening, if you guys want to support the work he's doing, make sure to check the links in the show notes. Let's do something awesome together here. Let's pull behind this push to help raise awareness, and let's see if we can help make some awesome things happen for his nonprofit. Guys, don't forget about the Manlihood Man Cave. It's a place where you can connect with other men who want to help each other level up. We're here to encourage each other, to build each other up. It's our private Facebook group. All you have to do is join, and we'll add you to the group if you're a man. I want you guys to know, seriously, I'm really grateful that you guys are a part of making manlyhood something special. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. I love you. I'm proud of you. And I'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening to the Manlihood ManCast. If you want to be a better husband, father, leader, a better man, you need to join our private Facebook group, the Manlihood Man Cave. Join today. Please help us out with a like, comment, share, and subscribe. And check us out at manlihood.com.